Hello, and welcome to the Green Team of the Legendarium, the weird little spin off podcast of the Legendarium where patrons get together to discuss the books and topics the main crew haven't gotten around to yet. I'm Little Red Book, and tonight I have with me the man who marshals Discord bots, Colonel Rabbit,
Hello.
and the doctor you wouldn't ask to heal your eyes, Todd Wente.
Yes, never let me near your eyes.
I didn't mean it quite that menacingly. Tonight.
But thank you. I appreciate that.
Tonight we'll be discussing Penric's mission and Miria's Last Dance by Lois McMaster Bujold. Just a reminder that we are discussing these stories in internal chronological order, not publishing order. What do you boys think of this installment of Pen and Des?
Rabbit, you go first. I just put a dark chocolate egg in my mouth.
As Todd was asking for last time, we finally get some Penric romance of his own, which is great. Nikes is an amazing character. I love Adelis's surliness. So I think just the fact that we get all these new supporting cast is just wonderful.
Well, I mean, the general has a right to be surly. He just got his eyes almost boiled out of
I mean,
his head.
it's a hard-earned surliness.
Hey, let's be fair. Every general starts out surly. If they're anything but surly, that's kind of a surprise. So all we've done is move the natural needle a little bit. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed them. I am in between books. I'm in the middle of book 12 of book 13. I'm in the middle of book 13 of the Wheel of Time. And so this was a nice palate cleanser. It was a nice break from all of the intensity of things going on. And the more that I read these, the more happy I am that I have bought into reading through this series with you guys, because I just enjoyed it.
Well, that's good. I want to say that the introduction of Penn as spy, as well as finally seeing him doing some doctoring, are things I really, really enjoy about these stories. And of course, Nikes is amazing, and Dez's response to Nikes and Nikes's response to Dez, are also very, very cool.
Yeah, and the way that it one of the things that was fun for me, I'm used to spies being successful, not thwarted at the very beginning, and so that first little bit where he's like, "And now I'll just kind of figure out what I'm gonna do." Nope, I won't. It was like, all right, well, and such a big. Well, anyway, it was fun.
These are short stories, so we'll be doing all spoilers all the time. So stop here and go read the stories. Or if you just don't care about spoilers like me, you can listen. Listen. This is another argument we have on Discord about my not caring. So just so you know, Rabbit and I, inspired by a Discord discussion, wrote bad summaries along the lines of the infamous Wizard of Oz transported to a surreal landscape. A young girl kills the first person she meets and then teams up with three strangers to kill again.
Wow.
That's how we're doing the summaries for.
I don't think I've ever heard the Wizard of Oz summarized that way, but I really like it.
Really?
I do. I think that's awesome.
No. Really, you've never heard that before.
No,
Whatever.
I mean, I'm the guy that likes Die Hard as a Christmas movie, so you would have thought I would have heard something like that, but no, never.
So we're starting. Also, I'd like to add that these two short stories are really one story.
Yeah, that's fair.
Unlike most of the other Penric books. Okay, so summary. Spy heals blindness by killing local vermin and falls in love with his target's sister. We can't hear you.
Fair.
It's the worst summary, but it's true.
Yeah.
So what do you think about Penn borrowing from the father? Borrowing in quotes.
Yeah, the mental gymnastics of his process. Well, technically I'm doing this, and technically it's kind of about and I would be being paid if I were. So really, this isn't stealing. This is just an advance on my regular way. No, that is the kind of mental gymnastics that make me go, huh, yeah, you're going to hell.
mean, his god is the bastard.
It's true. It's true. I think he's adopting more and more of the bastard's personality all the time.
If it was any other person in this world, I would agree with you, but just because of his pen and like the fact that he actually, unlike 99.99% of other people in the world, has talked to the gods, has done favors for the gods personally, I think it does have he does have a good argument in that
Oh,
case.
he has a great argument. He's still going to lose.
Well,
The
yeah, he's
the
done
thing that's gonna the thing that's gonna make the difference is how long does the argument go on?
he's very loyally
He is.
however you say that word.
Yeah, he is. The thing that I enjoyed most, I think, about that scene is as he's going around and he's making these observations about the city based on the way that they gave contributions to the different gods.
Yep.
So he's like, "I'm very well respected here. Um, look how poor. Oh, but look, they all think they're righteous because they're given to the Father. Okay, I know a little more about this town, and quite frankly, he does. The tool of making an assessment based on or making an evaluation based on a piece of information. Uh, Ms. Bujol does a wonderful job of interpreting that and giving Penric all of these sly witticisms about all of those things. I love it. I think it was fun. He's still going to hell.
The bastard's hell.
The bastard's hell. Well, we're pretty confident of that anyway.
It does help that he has 200 years of experience living inside his head,
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
including somebody who was living in this city.
Yeah. And an actual spy, unlike himself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, to be fair, it wasn't his fault it went wrong, but
But still, I mean, you'd think that he'd be like, you know, somewhere along the line, I should have had a better shot at this spy thing. Nope, not so much.
I love the way he escapes the
yes.
oubliette. By the way, I also love that the book has the word oubliette in it. It makes me I can't help but see the little gnomey guy from the labyrinth
Yeah,
every time I see or hear that word. Okay, that
I'd
was a
buy that.
weird transgression or not transgression tangent. Um
See, there we are. We're talking about transgressions, stealing from the father. Yep, just right on the roll.
But it's so cool how he's like, because he learned how to like make negative fire.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he freezes the middle of the oubliette as it's filling up and climbs on top of the ice and sadly has to kill some guards as he's escaping. And
Yeah,
then he
the of all of the ways that I have ever thought of escaping from any kind of a dungeon, going on creating a piece of ice so that I could stand on it so that I could yet no, never. That never entered my mind as
Yeah.
an option. So, hats off for creativity and saying, "Well, these are my limits, so I may as well use them as far as I can."
And it's kind of like a wonderful expression of Penric as a person, just like his entirety as well. Because
Yeah.
he's that clever, he's that scholarly curiosity, he's got the mountain goat and the mountain life in him, the experience with the ice. It's just like all of that combined into a single moment.
it's a lioness and a mare, not
No,
a mountain goat.
I'm talking about from the cantons where he was born. Little
Yeah,
back
that
country.
yep.
So
Yeah, it's really and the way that that idea of ice keeps coming back. I really enjoyed the fact that this was used several times as a tool in various kinds of situations and to show what kind of things scope can change as far as using the same tool, using the same device was really fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's much like where Des turns the blade into rust in the first book.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
So I like that. Um, I also really enjoyed how Nikos and Adelos are foils for how they play off of their foils for how they accept Penn and Des. And their different feelings about Penn and Des.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's a good point. they and it so I finished the books right at the beginning of yesterday morning, and so I was going to work still thinking about uh some of the ways that they crisscross with each other as far as the ways that they look at Penn. They start out regarding him in particular ways, and then by the time it's over, it's and I'm sorry if I'm jumping way far ahead, but by the time it's over, we've watched this journey that both of them have taken with Penn's entire existence, and they're like, oh, they almost flip across each other
Hmm.
for the way that they respect him, for the way that they see him. It was kind of fun to watch the play out of all of those and see Dulles go from very, very grateful that he gets his eyesight back to there is no way in the world that this little scrawny runt is going to be any good for me, and certainly not for my and then later on he's like, you're a beautiful woman. Which was just awful. Anyway, sorry, I jumped too far ahead.
Oh, that's fine. It's
I
like I said,
did
it's
love I
oh, sorry.
did love the description of Penn coming to Nycus as this otherworldly being when he is described as an apparition.
Yeah.
I'm like, huh. Yeah, I guess if you were used to one set of things, you see this other thing. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Hello, I am Penn.
And then using the same trick on the minister's lackey when he comes to arrest Sarasadia again.
Oh,
Am
the
I a
way
ghost?
that
What
was
do you
funny.
think?
That was really funny. I love the way he disables all the bad guys.
Oh
But
yeah. So maybe this is useful, maybe this is not. But I've had several conversations with some of my friends at various times. I am a shootist. I have been a firearms user and collector for most of my life. And one of my buddies looked at me one time and he said, why don't you carry? And I said, well, because certain things in my life right now, I don't think that there is congruence between some choices that I made as far as the way that I want to live my life and carrying a deadly weapon. But this idea of immobilization, this idea of less lethal has really captivated my mind. And so as I go through and study different kinds of martial arts, I'm looking for less lethal immobilization tactics. I got to tell you, if I had the ability to magically go in and just pluck someone's sciatic nerve or sciatic tendon and just lay them down, I am all aboard. I think that is awesome.
you know what I find really interesting about these conversations is how often you say, "If I had this power," and I'm wondering.
Always. Makes you wonder which powers I do have.
Oh.
But continuing on that vein, I think this is the first time we really see Penric Sorcerer in action. Like there have been moments in the past where like he's used his sorcerer, he's done the nerve trick in the past, but this is where Penric Sorcerer actually starts to like shine as a main character.
Yeah. Well,
I
and
mean, there
I wonder if part of that is because this is when Penric's he's now what 11 years as a
Mhm.
sorcerer,
yeah, he's
learning
29
all
now.
of these tools and techniques.
Yeah, and he's also out in the wild for the first time in all the chaos that being away from your books and your habits and your arch divine princess and all that.
Well, and
Get
not just out in the wild. It's the first time he's not at least had a minder,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because even in he's technically out in the wild in Penric and the Shaman, but he has oh geez, I'm blanking on his name.
Inglis and investigator. Oh, what is his
Yep.
name?
Oh, anyway, the point is that he's always been part of a team.
Hmm.
So
Versus here, yeah, like he's working with Nikes and Adelis, but they're not on his team.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Almost as if the previous novellas were all buddy cop adventures, and now he's 007.
I
that's,
love the
that's
part
another great bad summary.
oh my gosh. I love it when Adelis is so pissed when he finds out how he's being healed. And he's like, he hasn't been trying to seduce you because he can totally tell that Nikes has a crush on Pen.
Well, and it
Yeah.
looks like you can totally tell that Penn has a crush on Nikes too.
Well, Des is like, you've been looking at her backside this entire time.
That was so awesome.
Yeah. You've been staring at Nikes. Let me stare at Alice.
Yeah, little did we know where that was going to lead.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
I also like that Penn definitely has a thing for
Curvy ladies.
shapely.
Rubenesque.
Yes. He's like, she looks so soft and pillowy.
Well, when your bones are knocking against each other all the time, you probably want something soft and pillowy. I have never had that experience. Don't know.
Oh, plump is the word I used when I was writing my notes.
Yeah.
Which is,
Robert
yes.
Jordan.
Yeah, no, I love it. Love
I'm
it.
sure you've seen it reading Wheel of Time, all the plumpness that
Oh my
Jordan uses.
And now that I'm in the place where Brandon Sanderson is taking over, I can see little hints of adjustments on the way that people and things are described. I don't think that I've read a crossed her arms under her breasts line in quite some time. So yeah, happy about that. And
Yeah,
then I get into the Penn and Des books, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, there we are. It's good. But Lois McMaster-Bujold can say anything she wants because she's not Robert Jordan.
vastly different ways of representing women, just in terms of like the
Oh.
tone and how they use the woman characters.
So much so.
I have thoughts about that.
Really?
Mhm.
That's a surprise.
Yeah. I'm not saying okay, we're just not gonna go down that road.
Too big of a tangent.
I get upset sometimes talking about those books.
Okay, not a problem.
So one of the things I found most interesting is that at the end of the book, Nikes wants to talk to Des, like just Des.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about that scene?
I think this really encapsulates one of the things that Bujold mentions over and over again, just as like a subtle theme in these novellas. The difference between strength as like physical strength and the strongest person, like the demon will jump to the strongest person. And Nikes is willing to adapt, to accept, to just interact and and deal with what comes her way. Shows her strength in that regard.
Interesting.
So I like how, because like, especially with the superhero movies and whatnot, there's this whole thing about strong women that I kind of find annoying. Not because I don't like to see a strong woman. Ripley's one of my favorite characters. But there's also a strength that is more associated with femininity. And her characters they just have a different kind of strength.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah,
okay.
there's and some of that strength she imparts in her writing to Penric. There's a strength of maybe character is the wrong word, but a strength of intent that she has invested into Penric, and that same kind of strength of intent, of clarity of purpose, provides a sense of solidness, a sense of reliability. It's really quite a different way of looking at things, and at least for me, it's much more level 3. It's much more related. I can aspire to. I'm a cyclist by activity, and so I am never going to have a buff, chiseled, Thor, Captain America kind of physique, no matter what I do, because I've dedicated so much of my life to the bike, and so I can ride pretty good and I can ride pretty hard, but yeah, no, all of the grabbing a helicopter and holding it down with my arm, yeah, okay, I know it's a movie, but that was still a cool scene, and bulging biceps and blah blah blah. That sense of solidness is something that very, 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 very few people can really embody, but all of us can learn to embody a sense of purpose, a sense of intent, a sense of quiet strength that comes from knowing who we are, what we're doing, and of being confident in that direction. And that's something that I aspire to. And I think that is one of the things that comes across very well in it comes across in Nikos, it comes across in Adulus, and it comes across in Penric, in all of them in slightly different ways. But they share that, and it's really quite interesting to see the way that they all kind of fall together.
Yeah.
I like that we get in Nikos's head as well as Penn's.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah. It was nice to alternate between the chapters.
Yeah.
So, hearing which one we're talking about, it was a reminder of when I was going through all of the Dune books, and it would change perspectives from from person to person, and you would get a chance to see the other characters, but from a non omniscient view.
Hmm.
And so you get a chance to see, from us, Penric snuck out, and obviously he snuck out. He has to, divest himself of this chaos, and instead we hear Nikos, and he snuck out again, and he just disappears.
He climbed in through the window, but like, was I dreaming or did I see? Yeah,
But when
that.
he
Where
shouts
is he
at her,
going at night?
I love when he shouts out. She's asking him all
Yeah.
these questions, and he says, "Excuse me, I have to go kill some rats now." And she's just bewildered.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the seeing our main characters from external points of view, external grounded points of view, is
Yeah.
just one of my favorite tropes in just like any series. And usually what happens is like it's like an NPC character or NPC quote unquote, like just like a random character who doesn't matter and who's never gonna get a single second of screen time or writing time after they're seen. But here, I think she kind of combines it really nicely with Nikos's character development.
Yeah.
I found something very interesting considering the latest book in this series is Dez's first reaction to the sorcerer that's coming after them is like, "Oh, what a cute little baby demon."
That
Yeah,
that was delightful. Des, what do you think? Oh,
so adorable.
And I like how once the dust is settled, pretty literally, he starts giving this poor sorcerer this lecture on how he
Yeah.
treats his demon. And Nikos is listening to this and is thinking, this guy thinks that Penn is just as crazy as I think he might be.
Mad
And
as three boots.
mad as three boots.
by the way, great expression. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was interesting to see. Also interesting when Penric has this moment where he says, "I wonder what this looks like to people on the outside. Two men standing way away from each other, waving their hands at each other, and nothing going on."
Well, he even there's a scene at the very beginning of the book where he says he Des starts talking to him out loud, and he
Mm.
says, "Not in not in, in company" or something like
Yeah,
that.
Yeah. I don't want them to think me mad or madder than I already am.
yeah, yeah.
Is there anything else we want to say about this story?
There was a piece of this first story that I found that I kept coming back to, and it was getting a view of the sense of being trapped. Everyone in this story is dealing with a sense of being trapped. Penn starts in the bottle dungeon, but that's not really where he's trapped. He's trapped because he's been given away and asked to do this and da da da. All these kinds of things that are preventing him from being able to go forward. Nikos, of course, has been trapped because she was given away, and then first to her father, then to her brother, then to another general. Now she's trapped again. And of course, Adel is trapped in all of the machinations of everything going on, and now trapped by his blindness. All of these characters have these things that are trapping them, and this book feels very much. One of the things that I found in it was interesting was dealing with this theme of being trapped, being caught. There was one other thing that I really loved, and that was that we got an opportunity to understand a little bit more about Penn's despair from a
Yeah.
couple of books ago. And
That's in the second book.
yeah, and it was
Yeah.
the opportunity for that to be revisited a little differently. I really enjoyed that. I really appreciated that. I will not confess whether or not it made me cry. Uh,
You don't have
you,
to. We know it did.
I was on a bike ride and I may have been blaming the wind instead of my listening habits, but yeah, it was pretty powerful stuff.
Mhm.
I cried the first time I read it too. This is why I wanted you to do these books because I'm like, Todd and I can cry together. We
Yeah.
can weep.
Yeah.
It
It's,
was
it's interesting to talk about the entrapment though, because this is actually kind of a mirror of Penric and the shaman with the
Mhm.
shamans themselves. And I think the quote they used in that book was the three of them are like mountain climbers tied together with a rope. If one of them falls, or they have to save each other, or they're all gonna fall.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
Nikis, Adelis, and Penric are kind of like that for each other. They just made that bond.
Speaking
Yeah, I like it.
of trap, it's also entrapment because the letter to Penric's Duke
Mm-hmm.
was sent by people trying to take down Attalus.
Yeah.
So he was being entrapped.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, this was almost as good as an Ocean's 11 movie for the level of intrigue.
except that Penn's not great at his job.
No. No, he's bad. He is so bad. And he's like, "Don't tell anybody anything. That might be a problem." Oh, yep. I don't know what I said, but I'm already giving myself away.
Oh, poor guy. I feel so bad for him.
At least he's got Desdemona.
Yeah, he's got
If you had to
Des.
have someone looking after you, Desdemona is a good one to have.
Yeah, for
Amen to
sure.
that. Amen to that.
So unfortunately, I was at work, so I couldn't take notes on the second book because it would look weird if I was being paid to scribble in a notebook while at work. It has nothing to do with my job. And if I were salaried, it wouldn't be an issue, but I'm not. I'm hourly. So there you go.
I applaud your integrity.
But I did listen. Okay, would you like to read the second summary?
Sure. So our bad summary for Mira's last dance is going to be a man cross-dresses to help his crush and her brother escape the police.
So before we get into this, I have to share two thoughts. Twice in my life, I have participated in a cross-dressing adventure. Once when I was in high school, and several of us, we were stuck in a we were on a high school choir trip, and as the bus was trundling along, one of the buses broke down, and so all of us were stuck in the middle of nowhere. And the girls decided that they would make up the guys and see which of the guys could come out and be the prettiest girl. I did not win that particular competition, which didn't really necessarily hurt my feelings, but I did place third, which was a little, was a little challenging at the time. But since then, I have contented myself with the fact that third place is probably a respectable approach. The second time, I was asked if I would dress as Marilyn Monroe and come out of a cake for someone's birthday and sing "Happy Birthday, Mr. Producer" instead of "Happy Birthday, Mr. President." And
Oh, dear Lord.
there may or may not be photographic evidence of this exploit. I will just say politely that there were several people that said, "Who did we get to get on the cake? Wait a minute, that was Todd?"
I
So, yeah. Yeah, as I
thought
was
we
reading
hired
this, I was
Marilyn
like
Monroe.
I'm reading the story and I'm like, "Yep, I've been there. Yep, been there. Yep, been there."
Oh, Todd, I I don't know who decided that you would be a good Marilyn Monroe. I'm not trying to be offensive. You do have a beautiful singing voice. I know that.
The
But
blonde wig and the fake eyelashes,
did you have
and at
a mustache at the time?
at the time I was clean shaven. Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Anyway, so they end up in a town where Penn is once again planning on raiding the the temple for money, but they can't because Romeo and Juliet just happened in the town.
Yep.
So they end up at a whorehouse because they have an issue with crabs in the sheets. So he gets them a place to stay because he goes around killing all the crabs in the whorehouse.
I
How do you
love
go ahead.
I love Nikis's and Adelis's reaction to this. Adelis is just trying to like shelter his sister, and she's just like, "Oh yeah, crab life."
She's like, it's totally pubic lice. Well, he's treating her like, for crying out loud, she's been around with the army. She has
Yeah.
to know what pubic lice is. She's 30 years old.
Yep. And he has been gone for much of the adult period of her life.
Hmm.
She's figured stuff out.
Yep.
At one point, she even says to him, I haven't sacrificed to the daughter for a
Yeah.
very long time.
Yeah.
I haven't laid a wreath of flowers at the feet of the daughter in
That's what it
years.
was. Yeah.
I'm like, well, yep,
What,
okay, there we go.
what are you doing trying to chaperone me?
I y- the and the image of Penn looking at them and saying, "I think I've got this one. I'll be right back." And he's going up to he's going up to a whorehouse, leaving this girl he has a crush on, who's still trying to figure out if she has a crush on him back. And he's going up and saying, "So I'd like to come in." And the first thing the woman says is, "We don't have much call for boys." I'm like,
Yeah.
It's
"Okay,
not
this is
that.
gonna
It's
get
not
ugly."
that.
Nikis would agree with that reaction, though. That's the one thing she has figured out.
Oh, just funny. Just funny.
Well, there's a scene where he's lying, or the brother, Adelis is lying between Nikes and
Yeah.
um Penric, and Nikes says something like, what is your deal, basically? And he's like, well, I don't want you to accidentally end up with a blonde baby. And she thinks,
Yeah.
maybe I'd like that.
I'm like, accidentally? Okay. I mean, she's old enough to know it doesn't happen just because you wash your clothes together. So
Well, she even says, look, I tried to get pregnant. We were trying. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
yeah, that's funny. It was clearly one of the and I remember when you were saying, "Oh, well, maybe we can get Ken into this one so that we can see if he'll blush." And I'm like, maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
Plenty of watchable moments in this one.
Oh my goodness! From welcome to the best little whorehouse in whatever this town is uh to saying goodbye. The whole time is like one real bad double entendre. I've actually been doing a show where we've had lots of bad double entendres going on. So for me, it was like, yep, this is just like every other night. Well, let's keep going.
So Rabbit and I wrote these together, and he asked me we proofed and collaborated and whatnot. And I was like, I don't know, Mira's Last Dance is almost a bad summary in and of itself.
Yeah. It doesn't need one. It already is the bad side.
But this is one of her most blue novels. Like,
Yeah, okay, I'll buy that.
and it's not even that explicit. In fact, everything that happens behind closed doors. Like, you don't see it.
I don't know.
Very much so. Yeah.
Her romance series is much more explicit than this.
Which, oh yes. Yes.
Sharing knife.
Yeah, the sharing knife is very
Yeah.
much more explicit. But
Yeah.
even then it's still nothing.
It's pretty explicit.
Somebody hasn't read any bodice strippers. Is all I gotta say about that.
Okay.
It's pretty Fade to Black. Pretty close to Fade to Black. Except for like 3 scenes.
Anyways, continuing on.
So if you want to
Obviously,
read
we're
some
gonna have to do
trashy
more of this
romance,
stuff. Yeah, I can see.
it's actually not trashy, but that's a very good series as well. But as far as in her broader work, this is her bluest for sure, or
Okay.
one of her bluest books.
But deftly handled, and yes, I mean that with all of the double entendres that I can possibly throw together. Um,
Somebody got deftly handled.
yes, indeed. No, it was she did a really good job of even in the conversations that Penn is having internally,
Mhm.
leaving making it clear without being blunt. And I appreciated the artistry that she employed in order to do that.
So what do we think about Mira?
The slut?
She's not a slut, she's a whore.
The whore. Yeah, okay, well, let's be specific.
Actually, I believe what did
It's
they
a
call them?
courtesan.
A
She's a
courtesan.
courtesan, yes,
Yes.
she's a courtesan, which is just a whore
In
who
in
makes a
my
lot more
mind, I
money.
kept having flashbacks to, Marina Baccarin's character in Firefly.
Oh, yes. I think that would be a very good way of looking at her, for sure, for sure. I love that, they have this conversation, and I love the scene where they're first making him up,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and they're like, "And now you have to wear these clogs." And he's like, "I'm already too tall." And Mira's like, "I had to walk around in shoes twice that height when I was alive."
Rough,
And
rough cobblestone with jizz and great.
it was so great. And I just
Yeah.
love her. I mean, Ruchia is pretty earthy too, but just her very blasé attitude towards men
Sex.
and sex. And the scene where she says, "Oh, I had that guy's number right away. I know what we're gonna do with this."
Yeah. It's also so funny that Penric's just so used to trusting Desdemona and her schemes, and like when she says, "Oh, just listen to me or let me deal with this," he's just like, "Okay," because she always does. It's the one situation he's like, "Wait, whoa, whoa,
Yeah, and Des comes in and says, "Penn, trust her."
yeah." You're like, I don't have a choice anymore. Can't back
he's
out.
he's having a total freak out about whether Desdemona is ascended. He's like so
Yeah.
freaked out. And it's like, if you really want to stop, we can stop. But I'm telling you.
Yeah. I love her comment later. It's like, if Nikis wasn't standing outside the store, would you even care?
Yeah.
He's like, nah.
He couldn't do anything anyway. It's just it's interesting that and it's really kind of fun to explore the idea that because we get Desdemona, but we only ever get glimpses, and to get a new glimpse from a new perspective, a new character that has an entirely different set of skills really was
A
was
very
kind of fun.
particular set of skills, you might say.
Yes. But not ones like good old Liam Neeson would. Well, maybe Liam would appreciate that. Never mind. Never mind. Stopping.
Yeah, I think this is the most we get of a single aspect of Desdemona throughout
Yeah.
this series so far. Like
I think,
we get glimpses of Ruchia mostly
Yeah.
standing out,
and
but
her two doctors.
and the two doctors, but but we don't see Penn doing much physicianing. And by that point, he's also on screen at least, like he's already a competent physician himself, so he doesn't need their input as much.
So what do you guys think about the confessions in the so we touched this a little bit. The confessions in the temple where he's talking about why he is not a doctor anymore.
I really like the difference between a calling that you're good at or a calling something you love to do that you're bad at versus something you're really good at but can't stand doing. And that this disparity and dealing with that as a mental burden.
Yeah. The other thing that jumped out at me was when he was talking about how everyone saw him as uh, a tool to be used. Not his words, but mine.
Mhm.
But when you are as a human, when you are treated as an oddity or as a thing that is there for the benefit of others, it can be it's understandable why you start to feel value less. It was a really poignant kind of place, and I also he has another moment where he touches on it, where Nikos asks if he ever sees himself coming back to check on his work to see whether or not the healing had stayed, and
This
his
is important.
very
Todd, just gonna interrupt for just a second. This is
yeah
important. He discovers that the madame has a
yes
breast tumor.
Yeah.
yeah we hadn't talked about that. Sorry about that.
That's fine.
Um, and when he says very clinically, it's generally not a good idea either way, because if it didn't work, then I've got a different level of difficulty that I have to work with. And if it did work, it's really none of my business anyway. I
Mhm.
mean, it was really quite poignant in the way that and we recognize he's probably done this a lot.
Mhm.
It's not been enough, and he gets blamed. I imagine emotionally, he's gone through quite the ringer about that.
And no one's blamed him more than himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And part of the issue is that he's a sorcerer. He does magic. So of course it didn't work. It does. It's supposed to work.
Mhm.
And meanwhile, they're bringing him the most dire things. And he's like, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I don't know why. And that
Yeah.
is just
Well,
like
he
even
knows
medicine.
why, but everyone else doesn't.
No, there are times where he doesn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Most of the times it's like, well, we're bringing you for fourth stage cancer. Like
Yeah.
that's not going to work.
Yeah.
I do. Another thing I like about Nikos is she's so insightful. And at one point, this is after the first confession, she turns to him and said, "What'd you do with all the chaos when you were in this position?" Like, I worked for the butcher.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, I couldn't eat meat for a while.
Mm.
I just thought that was a really interesting touch.
And
Yeah. Especially when he said, "I never had that problem around the farm,
yeah, when he hunted or he farmed, but it was
but there
something
was."
about the divesting of chaos.
Yeah. Yeah. The glimpses. These are glimpses that we've not seen in any way, shape, or form before. Uh, we've seen a couple of places where Penn, is a little bit flirty and a little bit, interested, but it takes somebody special to get to a place where he can have a real conversation. And
Yeah.
it was uh, that was one of the more heartbreaking pieces of this entire thing, is that he's almost found someone until he gets to demonstrate his skills, and then it's a problem.
Understand why Nikos would be just a little bit uncomfortable with that. That she already knew that there was Penric, 12 women, a lioness, and a mayor living in his head. She already knew
Yeah.
that.
Well,
But to see what that could mean.
because she knew. I mean, like she may have been told that there was Penric and
Mhm.
12 women, but she knew Penric and Desdemona. She had not
Yes.
Right.
seen Mira. She had not seen Ruchia. She had not seen Umulan. And that's like Mira coming out that large to the fore is just was the shocker.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
would be shocking.
Hmm. I mean, yeah.
Well, especially when there's a so I have I have several friends throughout my life who have shared with me, even one in the last couple of months, who have shared with me experiences that they're going through about their gender identity and what that means. And I've been around this enough with friends from in high school all the way through, like I say, just a couple of months ago. And so if somebody comes to me and says, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm dealing with, this is how my life is, I'm like, okay, great, not a problem. I've had that opportunity to look at it and to think about it and feel about it and figure out where I stand.
Hmm.
So it's okay.
Right.
Uh, but the first time that somebody came to me with that, it was a very different kind. I was a different person. I was in a different space, and so seeing uh, Nikos have to deal with this information that changes her view of who this person is. Maybe not the same way as the gender identity or sexuality might be in our day. Maybe some of it's involved in that, and maybe that's part of why she was writing some of this, was to talk about some of those kinds of issues. But to see somebody say something that fundamentally changes your perception of what their identity is, of their base identity, it can be very hard. It can be very challenging to deal with,
It's
and
confusing.
Mhm.
it can be. It can be.
Like,
And yeah, and
I'm
she's
sorry.
not condemning. She's not outright hating it. She's just says, I don't know how to process it myself. I don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, I love the part where he has the conversation with her toward the end of the story, and and Penric says, "She didn't say was."
Yeah.
I wonder if she's as much a grammarian as I am. And Des is like, "Don't push it, don't push it."
I like the opening of this book, and Penn is trying to get out of bed as Nikos is bringing in his meal,
Yeah,
and he's trying to get up, and she's like, "Stay down, I'll help." And then both Des and him scream, "Stay down!" at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
and and he's like, "I didn't think you guys would be ganging up on me."
yeah, yeah, yeah. Nikos has to deal with more, I think, than any other character
Poor
along this
lady.
journey.
Including Adelis losing his eyesight.
Oh yeah,
Um, now it's gone. It was a brilliant thought, though. I promise. It's
I'm sure it
gone.
was.
You say it so
So,
doubtfully.
When it comes
all my
back, put it
thoughts.
on the end of the episode.
Yeah.
No, we're saving that for Christmas movies.
Oh, okay, okay, I'm in.
Um, okay. Anything else we want to say?
The ending was sad but very real. Just
Yeah,
with the like you we just got out of a fight for our lives, the most stressful situation that we've ever been in, and you're asking me to marry you? Like
Even Des is horrified. She's like,
yeah.
"What are you doing right now?"
I get it. I may never
Yeah.
get this chance again. I'm gonna take it.
Right. Yeah, like I understand like both their sides, but
Yeah.
I'm telling you, from a female perspective,
oh no, like I
I
understand
would be like,
absolutely.
"What are we talking about right now?" I
But
just,
like but from Penric's perspective,
I know.
1% is greater than 0. And that was
One in
what
a
you
million. So
yeah.
you're saying I have a chance.
Yeah, yeah. She didn't say no.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Des says that.
Desdemona is like, she didn't say no, take it as a win. That was the best you were ever gonna get.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
best he's ever gotten, to be honest.
Well, and then we have this moment of pen. The image in my mind is the same image that I have of that is created when I hear the song "Me and My Shadow." Of he goes back to his little room. He looks around. This is as good as it's gonna get. All
Mm.
right, my life sucks. Where's the pen?
Oh, we gotta talk about the scene where the general coming after them. 'Cause he gives them a big bag of gold, and the madame is all like, "What did you do?" And then they're trying to get to Orbis, and they and Aeolus is all freaked out because they're being followed by the general and his men,
Yeah.
and he's like, "We're just gonna kill him. We're just gonna kill him."
We have to fight. We have to fight. It was the only option.
When all you have is a hammer, everything is a nail.
Yeah.
True enough, he spends a great deal of time asking Penn different things he could do in war, and Penn kept saying no, 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 no. But first of all, Mira's kind of ticked because Penn isn't grateful enough for what she did for him, even
Yeah.
though Mira was actually doing it for herself, and we all know that.
Oh yeah. The entirety of Desdemona was doing it for themselves.
Yeah, that's true. They're like, we had to sit through all your fumblings.
Yeah. Well, and like when you're sad, like maybe I should put it to the vote of the council of Desdemona. Oh wait, that's not going to go well for me. She would
Nope.
say yes. She would say yes. She would abstain. She'd also probably say yes for different reasons. She.
I like when he said at least the mayor and the lioness could say they were in heat at different times. They didn't have to deal with it as a mental thing.
Right. Anyway, and this general proposes to Penn, And Mira's like, fine, I'll take over. And she starts dealing with it. And it's really interesting because Penn is saying to her in her voice, like, did you really get proposed to? I think you're laying it on a bit there, lady. And she's like, nope, it happened all the time.
Yeah.
She goes, of course, most of them were just in love with their cocks. They weren't really in love
That
with me.
was the one moment where I was like, oh, wow, there we go. That gets us our PG-13 rating. All right, good to go.
That's what gave the PG.
Everything else was intimated. Fade to black. Fade to
Yep.
black.
Anyway, and the image of them riding away and the generals waving.
Yeah, that was cute. That was cute.
And you
They
kind of feel bad.
and especially that also along with that when they're like they're riding along with us. That's because we're getting an escort. What did you do?
Poor Dallas. He gets the bad side of every interaction with Penn and Des.
Yeah, 100%. Poor guy.
Except
for the healing.
Except for the healing. But even then, like that wasn't his own choice.
Well, and then he has this wonderful moment where they say, "So how do we mention you?" He says, "You don't. Don't mention me at all. You don't want the honor? You don't want the reputation? Nope."
Yeah.
I think that was the moment where, and for me, that was the moment where we really see the crossing of Nikos and Attalus, or Idalus, in the way that they see Penn. That's when that cross really happens. It takes forever, but when it gets there, it's like, huh, all right, well, maybe I misjudged you.
Yeah.
Fun.
Well,
So I have a question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
That's continuing. It's the Adelis seeing Penric as learned Penric actually for the first time is when he's like, oh, now everything you've been doing, now all your eccentricities, all of that, now it makes sense. I understand.
You weren't lying all of those times. It's really true.
Well, it's not even just about the lying. It's about all the craziness, all the weird things, all of his idiosyncrasies with like not killing, with trying to respect the gods, with how he interacted and saw the world. And it's just like, I understand who you are now.
Okay, I think that's everything.
Yeah, but you had something you were going to say.
What was the deep thought?
The brilliant thought was about the general chasing after them. I was like, we have to talk about this.
It's awesome.
It was, I love how these stories are absolutely hilarious and yet still have some very, very serious moments.
Yeah.
And it's all feels natural.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. I like them.
So I have a question for you, Todd.
Okay.
Where do you think this series is going? Because there's like what, 4 or 5 more books?
If I were to guess where things are going to go, I have the feeling that Penric is going to be pushed into a place where he has to make a decision about how to use his powers in a way that is not that he can't wriggle out of, and it's not a happy place. I think I think he's going to be forced into some intrigue that puts him in a very difficult place power-wise, and he's going to have to deal with the ramifications of that.
Will Penn ever find love?
Love or entertainment?
Love.
We know he's got entertainment before. He's had lovers in the past.
He in fact
revealed.
Yeah,
he gets that occasionally.
Yeah,
not for long. I don't see that happening. I don't know, but I don't see it happening, and I think it will be. I think when the opportunity arises, it will be because he decides that he's had his chance and it didn't work out with Nikos, and nothing else can come close. I see him pining for the rest of his life.
You were gonna say something, Rabbit.
No, I was just gonna say interesting predictions.
Yeah, very interesting.
I'm always wrong, so I'm used to it by now. But,
I'm also generally wrong in my predictions, so I feel that.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. Please consider supporting the Legendarium on Patreon. Our music is Galactic Damages by Jingle Punks. Thanks to Craig for loaning us a little corner of your media empire, and for Horizon Brave for starting it all. For Todd and Rabbit, I'm Little Red Book. Good night, y'all.
Good night. Another normally missed Christmas movie is Tim Burton's Mars Attacks, which he intended as a Christmas movie. It was released in December. The Martians are wearing green and red suits. Their laser beams are green and red laser beams, and the skeletons that are left populating the entire world are green and red. It was Tim Burton's Christmas gift to the world.